Okay, Aries, welcome to Catalyst Energies. My name is Dee. Thank you so much for joining me. I am so grateful that you're here. This is a astrology forecast report for the second lunar quarter, which starts on January 9th, 2022, as we see here, leading up to our full moon in Cancer, 28 degrees Cancer, on January 17th, 2022. So Aries, this is for Aries rising, Aries moon for sure, Aries sun, there'll be something here for you too. And I would go so far as to say if your progressed ascendant is in Aries, this is probably very relevant to you right now. So if you haven't checked out the astrology report for the general astrology of this week, the second lunar quarter, you can do that by waiting for the link at the end of this video. If you're on YouTube or if you're on BitChute, you just scroll down and you will find the Catalyst weekly astrology report for the second lunar quarter and the full moon on January 17th, 2022. So let's get right into it, because this is just, this is just a quick astrological check-in just to get an idea for where these major transits are going to happen in the areas of life for Aries. So generally here, I would say that Aries is the patron of this particular lunar quarter. It starts with the first quarter moon in Aries, as we see here on the 9th of January, and is the path of the moon during this time up to the full moon will be through the first four houses. And so for Aries and Libra, we're going to find that this full moon in particular is along the axis of your power, where you draw your personal power and where you release your power institutionally, where you release it professionally in your public life. What is your mission and career? Right? This is the root structure in the fourth house. Okay, sorry guys, this mouse is not cooperating. This is the fourth house is the root structure, and of course the 10th house is the full expression of the tree or the plant reaching up to the zenith, right? Reaching up to the sun at the top of the sky. So for Aries people, especially because this first quarter moon is in Aries, and everything seems to, everything is following the original template of the Western astrological calendar. I feel like Aries are really going to, in their own personhood, represent the unfolding of this particular lunar quarter up to this full moon, probably more so than everybody else. So you are, in fact, the patron of this astrology report. So we're going to start with this. It's really about, again, there's a lot of attention for Aries in the realm of career and mission and what you are really here to contribute to in a institutional or social or political way in the 10th house. What actually is the unfolding of the materium that you are part of. And with Venus here, the sun here, Pluto here, there's been a lot of very deep inventory about value and inherent worth in terms of what we're creating together. Certainly with the sun here, a lot of power, and Pluto being here for a long time. I mean, Aries, you've been going through a slow burn for many years on the essence of what this mission is for you in your life. And of course, you get so much more detail when you get personal reading, your natal chart, your progress chart. So this is very general, but it's the moon in Aries where the Aries people are going to be, I would say, the most sensitive to themselves when it comes to inner child wounding with Chiron, with the nature of this first quarter moon, which is how do I feel about myself, and how do I feel about what is the spark that led me to want to transform, life into love and compassion, right? Where is my desire to express compassion through a crisis, and feeling that deeply within the very nature of the self for Aries? Because in the square to all this Capricorn energy, where the new moon started, where this incredible conjunction with the sun and Pluto are going to happen at the full moon, and with Venus in retrograde, especially, Mars is going to be Venus soon. There is a lot of focus on the larger institutional structures that Aries is part of and how an Aries person is contributing. But it's going to be the inner and more subtle, sensitive journey through the nature of who you are, Aries, that is going to really define a lot of this week. So we also see your chart ruler in Sagittarius in the ninth house is in a trine to the moon right before it's squaring the sun in the 10th house. So a great way for the Aries person to maybe release the energy of that spark when there seems to be certainly not a full expression or even a complete sensitivity yet to what it is we're all creating together, what kind of resonance we are responsible for creating. That's something that this whole complex is really dealing with right now, and an idea that we have to really finish out what has been started, because that is the nature of reality. But a good place for the Aries person to maybe release that spark that is felt within is through the nature of Mars, which rules this chart, right? This is a Aries astrology report. So Mars is really pushing all of this along and is taking point, really. And Mars in the ninth house is an incredible social justice warrior, for good or for bad, right? And so it depends on how personally involved you're allowing yourself with Mars. And as an Aries person, this can be very difficult. But the one way that you can truly capitalize and maximize this very strong base of a fire trine between the moon and Mars is to actually kind of come back around and procure in all that you have felt really driven to understand, and the belief systems that you have been really drawn to acting on, Aries. And you can procure what you have come to understand and bring back around, because that is going to be what sustains you especially as Mars comes into your 10th house. Just know that when that happens, Aries, it's going to be, you're going to take with you everything that you've come to understand, especially in the last, I would say, 18 to 20 months with the South Node in your ninth house. Bringing it into your 10th house when Mars eventually gets there is going to be just have this infusion of getting shit done and like really contributing to something in the realm of your professional life. But in the meantime, it's about remembering who we are, and especially Aries, really having that sensitivity to all of the potential of who you can be. And you can release this energy, not so much in the actual material aspects that you're doing, but way more in procuring the understanding and the wisdom that you have worked at cultivating for a lot of the time that Mars has actually been in your ninth house. So a great way to release this energy is to kind of like use it to then come back around and draw back in terms of higher mind, wisdom, and broader perspectives, as opposed to trying to fight with who you feel you are and the sensitivity to who you are with this energy that is really asking us to step into a sense of responsibility, but we're not really sure right now like what it is that we're really meant to, what are we actually participating and taking responsibility for. And Venus in her retrograde is a big part of the inventory for all of us around that. So it's here, Aries, that you're really going to be able to have a subtle connection with yourself in order to carry you through to ultimately this full moon in Cancer, which for all of us is going to show us like, can our emotional relationships and our inner life and our emotional security, does it hold water in the face of what inevitably is a massive battle when the Sun and Pluto come together, because you have your ego battling with the Grim Reaper, essentially. And in the realm of the large institutions that provide and protect and give us a sense of, like I said, institutional power. So we're all going to be dealing with this, but Aries is going to live it in their actual personhood and in their very distinct individual personality. Mercury is going to go retrograde during this time, and Mercury in the 11th house. I mean, everybody in, Mercury in Aquarius has been pretty awesome in terms of a lot of really intense, but also very focused mental and conceptual experiences of the collective consciousness. And so people are getting incredible dreams. People are being shook awake at the same like 3 to 5 a.m., downloads, insights, just tapping into the collective consciousness from a very mental perspective. And of course, with Mars here, or Saturn here too, it's also just a backbone in the realm of the social order in general. And so these aspects making a sextile to the Aries moon. Mercury makes a sextile to Chiron on the day before. This is, while the Aries person may be having a very deep sensitivity to who they are, and who, what they're, how they present themselves to the world, how they identify themselves, and ultimately that is what gets applied to and lives within this 11th house social context. But it's this sextile here that in terms of, there's going to a sense of detachment and even a sense of like stability within the social order that is absolutely changing, but it's really in the structures of the material aspects that are changing the most. And there seems to be a little bit more detachment and a sense, like I said, of stability in the society in general. And I think that detachment, that mental focus on the issues of social justice, the issues of the collective in general, and even a sense of stability within it right now, I think is a great way to invest into a particular sensitivity to maybe some deep wounding, maybe a sense of shame and guilt for the self, maybe just having to try to balance being oneself with all of the energy of being part of something, especially something that is truly disintegrating before our very eyes. And again, Aries people can capitalize and get the most out of their the energy or the symbol that takes point for them, which is Mars, by procuring all of the understanding for to take it into essentially what's going to be the building of a whole new world, right? Building of a whole new world. So when we see that Lilith right here is in this trine to Saturn. So Aries, there's something very deep and primal that needs to be released. It needs to be said. It needs to be heard. It needs to come out in the realm of your mind, your immediate environment, those that you talk to every day, the way that you gather information or work with data. There's something very deep and primal in terms of the duality and the dialectic and the nature of duality that really wants to come out. And it's this stability with Saturn in the social organism as a whole that I think is going to allow this powerful immersion from a deep and primal place that normally we may find ourselves kind of stuffing away because we're embarrassed or ashamed of it, because it's really the original blueprint of the divine feminine that wants to be heard, needs to be heard. It's the connection not just to our own subconscious or our own maternal aspect, which is the moon, but this is the original, like to the planetary grid, to the divine feminine construct itself. And something needs to come out, Aries, in your speech, or something needs to emerge from your mind or your immediate environment that is going to be able to do so, because Saturn here is just holding it down in your social life, with your associates and your social networks and the neighborhood you live in. So I think that this is a good time to allow that to happen, Aries, because again, it is about procuring what you understand. Because as we go through the week here, the sun is going to come into a sextile with Neptune. You'll see that, here, let's go forward. You'll see that Mars is going to be in a square to Neptune as well. Neptune in your 12th house, has been certainly a challenge for Aries people with the incredible amount of mystical and transcendental experiences in the realm of the mystical and transcendental, right? With Neptune in your 12th house. It's really just bringing so much inspiration, but also very powerful dissolution in your the end of the cycle, right? The collective unconscious. This is the morphogenic field. This is the quantum realm in the 12th house. And oftentimes it's through an ending of something, or a surrender to a situation, or isolation through that surrender to a situation, where we really go back to source. And Neptune has just been making it par for the course for Aries, because it's been here. And now at least Jupiter is able to help you manage this space a lot more masterfully, and certainly not. The real danger with the Neptune in your 12th house like this, Aries, is the possibility for escapism and addiction and even overdose, and certainly being under the influence of propaganda and things like that. So at least with Jupiter here, it's going to either get you reorient your perspective, or it will certainly be a representation and a benefactor and help you manage yourself in this space. So this comes into view as we start moving into the week, and your chart ruler is in a square. So even though you're procuring all this understanding, which is really going to be a fixture for the Aries person, the minute you try to act on it, or act in accordance with where you know it's going by putting on the mask, putting on all of the accoutrements of where you're going, playing pretend, which is really fun, and certainly is a great way for an Aries person to express themselves and their belief systems. But it's no match for Neptune. That's just like, no, I'm just going to make sure you experience it at the most base spiritual level, right? It doesn't matter if you can act out faking it till you make it all day, but I'm really going to challenge your set of belief systems by taking you into the realm of, you can perform the ceremony and dance, do the performance, put the mask on, and Neptune and Pisces is like, here, just smoke this DMT and you'll just go right there, right? This is the challenge with this. And Mars is our last bit in Sagittarius for a while. So this is the last push and the last really impulsive push in terms of like, this is what I've come to so far in understanding and belief systems. And I've broadened my perspective through the last 18 months of taking in information. So you can also see as well that that Mars and Lilith are still kind of like in an opposition to each other. So there are things in terms of the mental sphere here, Aries, that have to still be flushed out and purged from very deep places. And you want to make sure that that's also the case. And Neptune and Pisces is just going to make sure that any inconsistency here in your action, no matter how willful it is and how much you know where it's going, is going to make sure that any inconsistency, it's all going to be dissolved down to one experience. And that can be very disempowering for a Mars-ruled person, I think. But what you will find is the sun is in sextile to Neptune at the same time. And so that is an opportunity to really, find the people and find the situations that you feel really committed to participating in. It doesn't mean, it's less about acting it out in terms of your belief systems as an individual, and more about finding yourself within a larger group of people that have the same goals in mind, that are working towards it. And when you're able to do that, I think that surrender to source, or whatever you've surrendered to, is able to really amplify, and you can really invest that into finding yourself in terms of this collective experience. It's going to be way more fruitful for the Aries person in terms of their career and professional life to just kind of lean into, or to activate this aspect and just lean into the square in terms of the way that you're personally acting, like from your own self-interest, as Mars represents. And that's going to seem really confusing. So again, it's going to be a lot about remembering who you are and that spark from the very beginning that led you to wanting to even be here in the first place, right? And so it has a lot to do with, I think, all of us taking a last little bit of time during this week to really go back into the Gemini aspect and consider and feel into everything we have learned so far, and what how that's influenced our understanding. So when we get to the end of the week at the full moon, Mercury will be retrograde. So I assure you, Aries, if you have been getting like incredible downloads about your connection to the collective, you will, and it's been really, really intense, like you've just been having crazy dreams, or you can't sleep. So many people are like, I just can't even contain the energy in my mind. It's going to then have an opportunity to be processed, so just keep that in mind. So but when we get to this full moon on the 17th, you see here the Sun and Pluto, they're going to come together in a conjunction, and then the moon will be full right after that. So this is just destructive, right? And there's going to be such an ego battle, because that's the Sun represents our confidence and where we are able to express our ego into some sort of authentic creativity. But when it meets Pluto, it's just like that's, you either have the opportunity to illuminate that which is being destroyed and find some real psychological power. And I think that's the best case scenario. And for Aries, it's going to be, something incredibly destructive and powerful is going to come to light in the realm of your mission, your career, and what you're here to contribute to, and in that process, it's going to show a culminating experience within you of like, does your emotional security and the mechanisms and the stability you've cultivated, does it hold water? Does it take you back to the original source of where you came from? Not you as a person individually, but something that is more than you, those relationships and home and family, right? It's really going to test Aries in terms of your axis of power by the time we get to the full moon. So that's the quick check-in, Aries, just to give you an idea. It's really around a much more subtle experience in the very nature of who you are, where you come from, and if you're where you're loyal to, your faithfulness, what holds you together emotionally. Is it going to be able to hold you together in the face of a really powerfully destructive and certainly psychologically powerful moment in the realm of the institutions that we're all part of? So again, you're the patron, Aries. So how you go through this as a person on a personal level is really going to strongly set the example for the rest of us in different ways. So Aries, if you're interested in a personal reading, you want to get more information, you want to subscribe to any of these channels, support this work financially, everything you need is in the description box below. Certainly stick around at the end of the video to get more information as well, and I'll be linking the general astrology report to the end of this video. So my friends, thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate each and every one of you, and I will see you on certainly the next video or the next live stream that I post, but definitely for the astrological forecast. I'll see you for the new moon in February. Okay, love you guys, and I will talk to you soon. Bye, Aries.